Boom. What up, ladies and gentlemen? All right, from sales rep to CEO, we're going to talk about his journey and building a seven-figure exit. Let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real-life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. All right, business bros, from cold calling and coffee packing to building a global business with 4,000 plus clients around 4 continents. This guest grew his company 3 times before successfully exiting, all while raising 5 daughters and keeping his family first. Please welcome to the show, the one and only Mr. Mark Howley. Welcome to the program, Mark. After some technical difficulties, we figured it out.
We got it.
Let's get this thing started, man.
Right.
A 7-figure exit, coffee packaging. Give me the rundown. Where'd you even get started? How did this thing happen?
Well, I think at 26, I walked out of detox. That was a little bit of a rough start for me, and I got a goddamn job. So I had my fair bit of fun, and I'm from Philly. I'm one of 8 kids. So, youngest of 5 boys. I don't know I could say this. I had a lot of fun, but the shit hit the fan eventually. And to anybody else who's run into that, it's an ugly picture. But anyway, I got a job. I got a job. I wanted at that point in time. You feel pretty much like you're not worth anything. You're just looking for a pat on the back anywhere, anyhow. So I got this job. I got a job selling bags. And by bags, I mean, in the world of coffee, that's a coffee bag. I don't make the coffee in it. I make the bag around it, and the little belly button-y thing on the back that you squeeze the coffee and people smell it come out. Ended up having a patent on that. And, really, it started in inside sales, just realizing that somebody had to bust balls. And I think some of the best people who are salespeople have this sort of ultimately this sense of some sort of inferiority complex. I got to prove something. I also had the belief that this is if you're not running, somebody is running.
Very true.
And if you're chilling and hanging out and being just a guy, well, in my opinion, I'm like, well, thank God for that competition because I can run right by that one. I'm looking for the horses. And because, as they say, the old saying in some of the sales books I read was, in a horse race, the one who wins by this much. But how much money do they get? They get this much.
Way more.
So that's what you're fighting for. You're fighting for increments. And for me, I never saw it as when I started a job, I always I think every 26 or 27-year-old, I thought, I'll kick ass here, 2-3 years. I'm done. I'm moving on to a cool thing. I'm going to be going out. Chicks are going to be chasing me because of the cool industry I'm in. Bags is not cool.
Nope.
It's just, there's nothing cool about bags. You're not going to the party and saying, yeah, check me out, I'm selling bags. No. So you just got to, all I knew to do was to stay focused on the thing right in front of me. I wanted to be the best inside sales guy there was, bar none.
Now, let me ask you, because like you were saying, the bags ain't the glamorous thing in the world, right? But it's still a niche industry that you're in. You turned it into a multi-million-dollar opportunity. Coffee always came in the tin cans. Like nobody would think, why would I ship it over and why would I change it into a bag? How did you turn that niche into that multi-million-dollar opportunity? How did you keep the focus, and what kind of guided you to know that this can be a success?
Well, first off, I was thankfully when I was 26 and I got a job. I got a job with guys who sold coffee bags. Now, at that time, everybody was in a tin can. But one of the reasons why a tin can is not good is when you make coffee, it lets off all this carbon dioxide. I'm not a scientist. I don't know why. What I do know is if I had this damn bag and I didn't have that little belly button in it, it'd blow up like a football and it'd almost pop. And if you punched a little hole in it and squeezed it all down, it'd do it again. So the bottom line is, can you get fresh coffee to a consumer? And because then it's because if you want to put it in a can, you got to let the coffee die. It's got to be dead coffee. You can't be letting anything off, or the can wouldn't hold it. It would just be like, if you open the can, damn near lid would almost pop off. So these guys figured it out, these Italian guys from Milan, and they hired me as they just wanted an American kid who didn't look like an Italian. That was the bottom line, and I fit the bill. And they also wanted somebody who wasn't so they're not picking up from the bottom. They're scooping out of the middle of the bottom of the barrel people who are going to come on like I would, and they're hoping they catch a rising star. In our world, Starbucks took off. I happened to be there at that time. I didn't have anything to do with it. But what you started noticing was all these little guys are growing. They're becoming more. Who's leading the opinion, right? So Starbucks clearly set the goal. Now all these people start going, holy moly, a good cup of coffee, people will buy it. Mm-hmm. And stupid money for it. Now that wasn't me. I'm not out there running around advertising good coffee. To be honest with you, I don't care. What's a good cup of coffee? The one you like.
Exactly.
Like telling
the one in your mug.
Yeah, exactly. It's go-go juice for 9 times. For me, it was bang, bang, go. As time's gone on, I've come to appreciate it. But what I did appreciate was that people need to bring a product to their customer that is attractive. They don't have the money to advertise on TV. They don't have all that bullshit. So there was these smaller guys there's a little tiny company that was trying to do it in Seattle, flumbling all over themselves. And, I can tell you the story. The bottom line is at about 34 or 35, I had 2 kids and I realized I can't do this. I just can't, I can't work for these guys anymore. I don't want to be 50 and be the sales rep that's making more money than the 30-year-old that's coming in. And what are they going to do? Like it or not, they're going to whack your ass.
Yep.
And you'd say, oh, that's not right. Well, cry me a river, man. You're gone, or you're put to pasture. And I'm like, no, that ain't happening. So I just started freaking out. But I had 2 kids. And when you have 2 kids, you're stuck in this spot where's your priority? Do you want to say, oh, I'm going to cut the cord and I'm going to run out and I'm going to take all this risk? And when I have to pay a mortgage, I have a wife, I want my children to be happy, so I was stuck. I honestly felt like I'm 35 and I'll just be doing this. This is it. And this feeling crept over me that every dollar they gave me every day was nowhere near enough because I was giving them a day of my life.
Mark, there are so many people that are in the sales game that have that same feeling where they're always out there hunting for that next dollar. There's not that huge sense of security. Maybe they're doing really, really well, and now they feel like they got a target on their back because they're going to get that axe here soon. And not just that, they're in a smaller niche area. There are only so many coffee shops that you can go to, only so many so many producers that you can go to. What was your process for identifying and reaching the right customers so that you can put this bag in front of them and make it something that became so mainstream?
Well, I think first off, it's get a goddamn list of people who do coffee roasting. First off, I don't want people who are doing potato chips. They're not going to help me. And I think the biggest focus that you have to keep on things are, what do you do? What do you do really well? What I had learned from working and watching Starbucks was they set the tone. Dark roast coffee tastes good. Now, in my opinion, dark roast coffee tastes like shit, but that doesn't matter. Starbucks figured out burn the living shit out of coffee, right? And make it bitter, and it wasn't Folgers. It wasn't. And then build some place that looks cool and hip people can go hang out and they feel like coffee's cool. I mean, they hit it. So now what am I looking for? Not them. I can't sell to them. I'm not big enough. I'm not strong enough. So where do I have to go? Well, I have to find smaller coffee companies that would value something like I do, where I can say, oh no, man, you don't want it to be, maybe it's best not to be purple. Maybe it should be green. Oh, you're going to do a dark roast. Well, what happens is if you get into it, and what I mean is get into it. I got so into sales that, sales is not some bullshit. I'm going to go out there and talk to people. There's a science to it. There's a methodology to it. And the people I tapped into how to do calls, how to appeal, how to find out what they want, not what you want. Because in the end, I've always said to people, you don't sell from your head, you sell from your heart. And if you're not pumped, and how do you get pumped? The people you're selling to get you pumped. And as you find one, then you're like, oh, wow, that really turned me on. I'm going to find another one. I'm going to find another one. And if you're in a commodity market, there are tons of people who buy it because it's a commodity.
Yep.
It's coffee.
Yep.
So I just started going into smaller niche ones where bigger companies didn't want to play.
Mark, you remind me of a big sales guru that I used to listen to way back in the day. You might probably recognize his name, Mr. Zig Ziglar. And he always talked about how sales is a transference of energy. And it's kind of the same thing that you're talking about here, understanding really what your customer is looking for and presenting the opportunity that you have as a solution for the thing that they're looking for. But I think so many people today are, especially because we live in an AI world, are trying to shortcut the sales process. They're trying to find any automated way to avoid having that communication with the client. You've been in the game for a long time. You've done the door knocking, you've done the cold calling, you've done probably the mailing, and now we're in an era where everything's in automation. Where do you see salespeople making some of the biggest mistakes today, where if they just made a few changes, they could have similar success that you had?
I think two things. I think that, first off, I think that people don't realize I'm not a believer that there's fast money. I just don't believe it. And I think that if something is so easy that you can get it on AI, anybody can get it. So what's separating you? Amazon already set the tone. So people, who's your competition? Yeah, it's AI. Who's your competition? It's Amazon. Who's your competition? The competition is everybody else who's selling your product. So, but I am also of the belief that how many people buy something that's for $10,000 that they don't want to at least know who the human being is?
Yeah, not very many.
Not many. I mean, okay, you can get Carfax and all that kind of stuff. I ain't selling cars, okay? And I don't have 800 billion freaking cars on a parking lot. So what do I have to do? I have to separate myself somehow. And in my opinion, that's done through your own internal passion. That just is, I'm a believer of, somebody who once said to me, that dog don't hunt. If you don't hunt, you don't hunt. I can't make you hunt, and you meet somebody who doesn't hunt and you're like, yeah, that dog don't hunt. And I hunt, and I got off on it. And in the end, you have to study your skill set. When you get the opportunity to get in somebody, don't be stumbling and fumbling all over your words. And that takes practice, and it takes reading shit, and it takes listening to people who know what they're doing. I train 9 sales guys right now for the company who bought me. I continue to train them. And if I would say one thing, it's you don't realize that you must be organized, you must be passionate, and you must run. Run, because somebody's running past you, and you
There's always
gotta
been
get in.
right. There's always the bigger fish. There's always the bigger dog. Somebody's there to scoop up the deal when you're not there making that phone call, when you're not there following up, when you're not there knocking on the doors. Always going to be someone there. So you mentioned after you ended up selling the company, you're still helping train people. What was the turning point? When did you realize that, you know what, I've been building this company, I've been selling this stuff. It's time for me to sell.
Well, that actually somebody came to me. I always thought, look, I thought if somebody said to me at 28, hey man, you're going to be in Seattle and you're going to be 45, you're going to have 5 girls and you're going to be married to the same girl for that long. At 28, I would have been like, dude, you got the wrong story. You got the wrong person. You got the wrong one. So now I'm out here and I realize all of a sudden I realize I know my shit.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't like maybe sort of kind of, send me anywhere. I sold in 48 states. I traveled to 20 different countries. Right. And I know my shit. It's not like somebody comes in and says, hey, let's talk about coffee packaging. No, send me anything you want. I know my shit. Now I have value and I have a business that has been set up. And we can talk about this a little different. Do you have a business that is prepared to be sold? It can't be just you.
Exactly.
So how do you set that up?
That's actually going to be my next question. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that have built a business. A lot of them are solopreneurs. They might be really good at what they do, and they're getting older. They're getting really good. Now they're getting a little bit older and have a family, and now they're really an expert in their industry, and they're thinking, I need to exit this company at some point. I need my life back. I need to focus on maybe my 5 daughters, my wife, right? Like, that sort of lifestyle. What advice would you give to an entrepreneur who's in that situation, thinking about exiting their company? What should they start planning for? How should they plan to exit?
Well, I think it starts before that. And that is that realize that nobody wants to buy just you, because you know what? You might get run over by a goddamn truck tomorrow.
So true.
Right. And now if you get run over by a truck, and what is it? What's there? What's there for your family? Your funeral, and then sit around and cry. Right. Well, so what are you building? You have to build an asset. And in that regard, I think you have to start to look at it like, okay, I'm Joe, I'm here. Right. And order comes into Joe. We don't have to go get a consultant. Joe, when you get that order, where does it go? It goes to Harry. Well, make Harry be the order fulfillment guy. Now, Harry's doing all that crap. Harry calls somebody in a warehouse and says, hey, dude, get all the shit in a box and put it on a truck. Well, who's that guy? Okay, make him the warehouse manager. Now you're starting and let them do it. So that if you did get run over by a truck and somebody came in and said, hey, an order just came in, who does it? And if they go, oh, it's Joe who just got run over by a truck. Well, that doesn't do much good. No, you'd say, no, it goes to Harry, it goes to Bill, it goes to Diane. It moves down a chain. Now you're creating a thing. It's not just you. Now you, as most people who are an entrepreneur like myself, yeah, you're the driving force. I mean, we had 70 employees. Yeah, I'm the driving force, but I ain't the only force.
Very true.
I'm not the only one anymore. And you need to be at that point. If you are not at that point, my bet is this: you overvalue yourself.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. I've been doing this for 30 years. Look at me. I got 800 clients. Wow, 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 wow. What happens if I buy that joint? You know who I got to buy? I got to buy you. And you know what happens? I'm not giving you all the money until you get it to me.
It's a struggle because a lot of entrepreneurs that feel like that, it's very much an ego thing. There's different types of business that you can build. One's a lifestyle business, and that's going to be your lifestyle for the rest of your life if that's the way you want to build it, which is totally okay. But if you're thinking about exiting, you kind of have to let that ego go. And part of it is allowing the people, like you said, down the chain of command here, down the different departments, to make some mistakes, because they will make mistakes.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be as good as you or as perfect as you, or through the system the way you want it to be done, but it will still get completed. Any advice in dealing with that aspect of it? Like when things go wrong and it wasn't your doing, but it's still your company, how do you kind of deal with that when your ego and your name's on the line?
Well, first off, internally, you get pissed off in your brain. Yeah. You get pissed off, and you want to say, I can use foul language. I'll fall short of that. But let me tell you what, there's words that, I would be like back out in Philly with my friends. It would be, what the fuck, but that ain't doing you any good,
No, it doesn't.
Because you're just going to beat somebody down. So what do? If you want to find 80% of the people leave a job, and it's not compensated related. The reason they leave is, I don't feel important. I'm a number. Nobody listens to me. I don't like my peer group, etc. So how can you, so what do? You give somebody something to do. Assume they're going to screw up.
Yeah, they will.
They will. But the good ones, you will know if somebody's good so fast. And let me tell you what, you'll know if they suck a lot faster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get somebody who's just a dud, doesn't care, just wants to come into work, make sure they get out on lunch on time. That ain't the one. The ones who care are pushing it, and they're going to screw up.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your choice? You do their job or they do it? Yeah. Well, here's the deal. I don't want to go into the warehouse and get the box.
No, exactly.
I don't want to.
Exactly.
The fuck am I doing out there?
Wasting the time. That's what you're doing.
I'm sorry. Is my language being too rude?
You're totally okay. Mark, to be honest, it's the real part, right? The frustration that you have when somebody else makes a mistake in your business, that is the real frustration that people have. That give yourself the, I'm glad you said it, because at the end of the day, you're going to get pissed off when somebody makes a mistake, and like you said, you're going to identify the people that are really good at it. You're going to identify people that are sucky at it. And when you do, you have to go through that iteration of bringing people on that you might think are good and they turn out to be trash, and you're going to bring people on that you think are good and they turn out to be the star. But get rid of the trash as soon as possible, and then empower the people who are good to do what they need to do. How did you build that culture of loyalty and happiness within your team, even though you had to go through some of these people that were trash?
I think some of it is just who you are. Yeah, maybe it's because I was brought up with 5 older brothers. I'm in a big neighborhood. You realize, like, I can't run this game alone. I got to have somebody watching my right and watching my left, or I got to have a backup. And I never, ever in my life thought that somehow I was just inherently better than somebody. I really didn't. I thought I outworked you. I thought maybe I had more passion, but I never thought like I'm just better than you. And I always just wanted to know who the person was as much as what they were doing. What's like, I like getting to know people.
Yeah.
And in this little bubble of the world, yeah, you know what? I'm the boss. Okay. There was a boss, bosses are bosses are bosses. I happen to be it here in this little bubble. And how can I convey you're a human, man. You're a human.
Well, speaking of being human, so I have a former student. She's watching live right now. Her name's Kennedy, and she's a solopreneur. And like many of them, like what you're discussing right there, where you're the boss, everything weighs on your shoulders. You're literally like Atlas holding up the world when it comes to your company. And there are times where I'm sure you would rather be at home with your 5 girls. You'd rather be doing almost anything than your business in and of itself. How did you deal with that stress or maybe you did, I don't know, where you had that feeling of, I'm done with this. I want to give this up, but you kind of persist and keep going?
Well, again, I think some of that is the old, that dog doesn't hunt, because there were times in my life for me, having been in recovery for a long time, I'm susceptible to depression. I'm susceptible to anxiety. Shit wears you down. And a lot of times people who are driven like me, you don't even know it's there. You're just buzzing, and you don't know it. And then boom, it hits, and it may not even be the most significant thing, but it's building, and what makes you keep going? Well, I've had periods where 3-6 months, man, I was depressed. This is not like, oh, I'm a little sad. No, this is, I feel like I'm fucking Velcro stuck to my bed.
Yeah.
And I got to get out of bed and I got to do my thing. Why? Because I wish I had the answer. The answer is, what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
Lie here. And some people have those types of mental illnesses that's where they are. And I do not criticize them. I do not criticize the guy who can't stop getting fucked up and shooting heroin. I don't criticize him. But there are some who are fortunate enough, and I happen to be one of them, that I just knew a lot of life is grinding it, man.
Yeah.
It isn't like a movie. Days are long. You ever have those
100%.
days where you look up at the clock, it's 11:45, and you're like, holy shit. You look back up, it's 12:30, and you're like, you mean it's not Saturday? I mean, this just seemed like it's a goddamn eternity for a half hour. And one of those days, you know what? It's 60 minutes in an hour, asshole.
Yep.
And now they're just not going the speed you want them. And so I think that's what pushed me. And it's also what made me realize that I got to find some relief somehow. For me, it's exercise. I'm not doing triathlons. I'm not, whatever. No, I go to the gym every day for my head.
Yep.
I just needed it, man. That was one of my big releases. Just get out of your head. And even when I'm at the gym, I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, it's the curse, right? It's the thing that it never goes away.
The only thing
you dream about it, you sweat about it.
Yeah, what would get me is steam room. Do steam room for 20 minutes, and I would come out sometimes. I feel like a dish rag for maybe like a half hour. Then all the wires turn back on, and I'm like, bah! But that's what we are. You are what you are.
100%, 100%. So,
I hope that answers a little bit of your question. How do you?
I think so. It's probably one of the most real answers I've heard in a long time. You're in the podcast space as well. After you've exited, you have the Mark Howley show. You're hearing people tell their stories as well. Sometimes when you get entrepreneurs on the show, it's very scripted and that their answer is very generic, but yours was very authentic. Like the struggle is authentically real, and you can hear it in your story, in the way you've approached these problems, how you allow yourself to be frustrated, to understand that you have these feelings, but that you still get up and continue to move forward. We're getting low on time here, but tell me a little bit about your show. And how can people find you, get a hold of you, and hear more about your story and how you're helping people kind of get through their.
Let me add one thing. As to an entrepreneur, if you're looking at selling your business, go out and find somebody who's a third party and get the value. My bet is you're going to be bummed out. That's my bet.
Yeah.
And unless you start building a structure around it, that's how you build value. And just keep getting it checked. Every few years, ask somebody, what am I worth? And ask more than one, because your buddy's going to say, oh, $1 million freaking dollars. You know what? You're probably worth $250,000 and you think $1 million, because you're not as valuable as you think. As for me, my show, the Mark Howley Show, generally tries to reflect what I'm talking about here is, man, people are doing all sorts of stuff around the world. What makes them click? What makes them happy? The dude driving the bus might be as happy as me. Yeah. My interest is why? Why? And I think that a lot of younger people need to see that don't get confused that it doesn't have to be the image of something that you see. People find happiness in so many places. Sometimes I wish I wasn't as freaked out as I am, but I am, but it's the one I got stuck with. Whoever sent me down here this way. What am I going to do? And when I listen to a guy like you, you come on with energy. You come on with heat. That's powerful,
Thank you.
And my show
Appreciate it.
attempts to shine a light on those people. So how the hell did you find that? Go for it.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're trying to find people's way to express what makes them happy, because you're 100% correct. It's not always the same thing for everyone. Everyone's a little bit different. And even though they're all seeking, that happy life, you don't understand happiness until you've had the downside of life, right? You don't understand how beautiful the light is until you've been in the dark. And almost anything that we do in life, it always starts off with that struggle, but you're working towards something. I always feel like the end goal is never your true happiness, but the progression towards the goal, the work that you end up doing, even though it's difficult at times, that's the stuff you look back at. You don't always remember the fun vacations you had with the family, but when everything went wrong and the time that it's going wrong, it's stressful, it's horrible. But those are the most memorable vacations. You talk about that story over and over and over again. So,
go somewhere with 5 daughters and a wife. I'll tell you what, that could be a shit show. Coming and going, that could be a shit show. And let me conclude with one thing I never want to forget. Is I've been in recovery for 39 years, and I've worked with people in rehabs. I've spoken at rehabs. I'm not freaked out on you got to do it this way or that way. All I will say is if you are in great pain from that, there's no darker place to be, and there is a way out. There is a way out. Please know that. And if for any reason I can offer that help, drop me a text, drop me anything. I will respond.
I love it.
There's too much suffering going on when it comes to that. Young guys and girls, man, you're getting fucked up, man. That is not the answer. It just isn't. It feels good at the moment, but sooner or later, that spaceship comes back down here to good old Earth. And what the fuck? It's hard.
100%. All right, Mark.
Get help.
No, thank you very much for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, his Instagram is at The Mark Howley Show. His website's the same way, themarkhowleyshow.com. Tune in, check out what he's offering. The authenticity is fire. You literally heard it on today's episode. Mark, thank you very much for being just you. For being here and sharing your story, telling us about, maybe it was all the coffee that you were sniffing the whole time, but the reality is you've been able to share some amazing stories because you've gone through some amazing times in your life. Congratulations on all your success. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, themarkhowleyshow.com is where you can find Mark's stuff. That's all we got for you guys today. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast, but not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.com.